Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 60. He's Dave Bryan, I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Wednesday, Steelers Nation, and Merry Christmas to Steelers Nation. Merry Christmas to you as well, Dave.
Yeah. Merry Christmas to you, Alex. I hope I know Santa probably you were always good, so I know Santa came by your house. So
how many lumps of coal did you get, Dave?
As many as he can fit in his house, probably. But
well,
no.
you had a photo on Twitter yesterday. What were you, 10 years old in that photo? What gifts did you get as a 10-year-old?
Yeah.
They looked foreign to me. They were not computers and electronics.
Yeah, absolutely. I got Pirates. I guess they call that back then what they call it, a pillbox cap.
You're asking the wrong guy.
The kind of the high ones with the stripes and all like that, the ones that they used to put the stars on in the 70s there. I got a pair of I think Steeler gloves, if you will, and you're thinking, man, in Florida, what the hell do you need gloves for? During the wintertime, it actually get a little bit cold there in December and January. So got a set of those. Slot cars, that's probably foreign to you. Slot cars used to put the track together and all like that, and you used to plug that thing in, and you'd have two controllers that were hooked up to each track that would kind of send a current through the track, and then of course the cars would have little contacts on the bottom of them, and you could get those little suckers going around the track pretty good there. So slot cars, and I don't remember too much else about that Christmas. I think I see something Superman or something on the floor there. I don't know if that was a puzzle or what, but banner year at the banner year as a 10-year-old Christmas right there.
There you go. And for this year, we're hoping for a Steelers playoff berth, hoping for a TJ Watt Defensive Player of the Year award. What else is on the Steeler fans' Christmas list this year? Ben coming back healthy?
Yeah, I think at this point they take a left-handed Ben right now.
I think I would too. I think Santa playing quarterback.
Right now, but look, probably gonna need one of those Christmas miracles here for them to make the playoffs here. But that's why they play the games. Of course, you don't have to, but the most logical way to get in for the Steelers, of course, is beating a Ravens team that will be without kind of Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, without Marshall Yanda. Who else are they going to sit in that game?
Brandon Williams, Earl Thomas.
Yeah, Earl Thomas, Brandon Williams. I mean, your inactive list can only be 7, and
that's probably the 7.
Yeah, and there's only so many people you can sit other than that. I mean, heck, you gotta be able to fill the team out there and all. But not having those guys play, the Steelers will have a chance. And the only thing is I'm not so much what we'll talk about here, a little bit, of course, on into Friday and all. I'm not so worried about the defense because this is a defense that did a great job of handling Lamar Jackson that first time around here. But the only question is can they score enough points to win the ball game? And of course, the other side of the equation is needing the Houston Texans to beat the Tennessee Titans. And I've heard every word that Bill O'Brien has said from the end of that ball game the other day on Saturday until now. It sure sounds like he's interested in winning this thing. But if we get to kickoff time and the Kansas City Chiefs, have won their game against, I think, the Chargers, I don't know. We talked about the other day. I don't know how much incentive there is really to play the guys that you need to play to probably win the game. And that's probably why you see the Titans favored right now, I think, by 5 points on the road, because Vegas ain't buying it for one bit either.
Yeah, obviously Steelers need help, but the first thing they have to do, as you mentioned, is take care of business, beat the Ravens on Sunday. Unfortunately, despite the Christmas spirit, Rudolph will not be guiding the Steelers into Week 17. Mason Rudolph, placed on IR after suffering his left shoulder injury, will not need surgery, according to Mike Tomlin, but is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks while he rests and rehabs before he can begin throwing again. Steelers promoted center guard J.C. Hassenauer, who was in camp with the team, signed to the practice squad following Marquise Pouncey's suspension earlier in the year to the 53-man roster. So Rudolph to IR. That means Duck Hodges will start Sunday against the Ravens.
Yeah, boy, what a topsy-turvy season for Mason Rudolph, right?
For real. I mean, one of the craziest years I think any player in the NFL's had, on the field at least.
Man, and at least, I guess, I mean, not technically ending it on a positive note by him having to go to IR, but from a on the field perspective and in helmet perspective, as Mike Tomlin likes to say, I think he came out of the backside of it okay, at least, in the limited action there. So obviously he isn't going to play any more this season, and boy, he had a golden opportunity, didn't he? You come in halfway through the week 2 game, and by week 3, you know that you're going to be the starter, and you're thinking, oh boy, I got all these games here. I can really make my mark and show that I can be the quarterback of the future. And then you just, you have the kind of season that he had. And, there was a little bit of progression there for a little bit, but then a little bit of regression, and then an impression on his head. So then obviously never recovered from that up until coming off the bench the other day against the Jets. I went back through all of his throws, obviously, with the All-22, and I liked his decision making. I liked his arm strength, and he showed us a little something there. And unfortunately, went down with the injury there, and now we're going to have to wait to see, or at least I'm going to have to wait to see him. Next year during the preseason. You'll, of course, see him ahead of that at training camp there. But what did you think about that limited amount of work that he had the other day against the Jets?
Well, like you said, I think it was positive. I think he was more decisive. I think, again, him coming off the bench seems to result in his best football when he's not overthinking it. I think he can be a paralysis by analysis kind of dude. But I just think overall for the year, and I want to go back through the whole tape and maybe do a film breakdown of him and Hodges and just kind of look at this thing in totality. That's the phrase we've used often this year. But it was just good for him to have this experience, to have a couple of highs, to have plenty of lows and everything in between, for the team to learn about Rudolph. So if there was a silver lining, while Rudolph certainly doesn't look like the surefire franchise quarterback, I think he at least learn what you have in him, which is better to do that now than maybe in a post-Ben world when you're kind of putting all your eggs into that basket. So I think at least provide some clarity going forward and you learn about Rudolph. So if there's any sort of positive that comes out of losing Ben for the year, it is at least that helps maybe shape your future and the decisions that come with it. So I'm just glad it ended on a relative high note, from an on-field perspective, because I thought he did play well against the Jets.
Obviously we're still looking for that one, that one identifiable, a good trait of his,
Mm-hmm.
Did we ever find that with Duck Hodges? And I don't think we did, other than, just kind of a fearlessness to him.
Mm-hmm.
But that fearlessness got him in trouble a couple of times on top of it there. And I was hoping to see a guy that maybe could get out of the pocket more than once and make a play. And we did see that the one time on, what was it, third and whatever, fourth and whatever, a few games ago, where he got out to the left and did a good job converting in late in that game there. But other than that, what did we see that makes an identifiable trait with him?
Well, let me ask you this. Obviously, both guys had really low lows multiple times this year, but who had the higher highs? I think Hodges at his best was better than Rudolph at his best this year.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and I'd go back to maybe that play that I just talked about, the conversion play. there. That one, and I'm trying to, I thought even though it wasn't a positive play, the play against the Chargers, the bad snap of him being able to get
Yep.
get to that football and throw it out of bounds right there at the goal line to save a down or save distance there. I thought that was a play that sticks in my head. Obviously, the coming in off the bench and like the second throw to Washington in the game against the Bengals.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think of the first pass he ever attempted to Deontay Johnson on third down against the Ravens, which was changing the protection and a money throw to Johnson. So I think they both had horrible lows, but I think when it came to who had the higher peaks, I think it actually was Hodges.
Right, and I think when you look at the positives, at least throws that Rudolph has made, it's been the deeper throws. The one against the Jets to a wide open Johnson, and really going back to I think the game against San Francisco, one down the left hand side too. I think those there was the third down throw that I said circled the other day late that Rudolph made over to the right side. I think that was another good throw by him. But as far as going through my head and still trying to think of where are the moments where I went, okay. With Rudolph, there weren't many of them. And like I said, most of them were throwing deep balls down the side to a wide open player. Now, he's had other opportunities hit guys down the field, and what a difference it might have made. Had receivers either come up with the football, i.e. the Johnny Holton, I think against the Browns. And another one down the right-hand side where, kind of slightly underthrown, I think on the flea flicker that was batted up in the air and intercepted. What kind of happens if the receivers make a couple of plays on a few of those?
Sure. That's a great point.
But even still, we're talking about, and look, we've got all off season. We're gonna, you and I are gonna pour over these, look at his footwork and look at his overall decision making. There'll probably be half a dozen articles in total on them. But obviously the initial impression on both these guys is neither one of them can be, franchise Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, would at least be what your gut tells you from what we've seen so far. However, it would have been interesting to see Rudolph not only finish that game against the Jets, but play this next one against the Ravens. Just to have that extra 6 quarters or whatnot, if you will, because there were some positive for him closing out the Jets game. But once again, hopefully we're not going to have to worry about seeing any of these guys for a while.
Yep, because that means Ben's come back full and healthy and ready to go for 2020, which I guess we should talk about that briefly. I want to try to keep this a shorter episode today because it is Christmas, but there was the quote-unquote report from Chris Mortensen, was this 2 days ago, that initially said, Ben has some doubt about his playing future and will he play in 2020, and lo and behold, a couple hours later, that arm must have been feeling better because Mort walked that report back really quickly and said, nope, Ben has full intentions to play in 2020 and beyond. So much ado about nothing, and I think we kind of knew that from the get-go, even off that initial report, that the evidence there was flimsy, and every expectation should be that Ben is going to at least do his best to return in 2020.
Yeah, and I wrote that at the end of the article there, and I hope some people understand, we don't consider ourselves clickbaity type, work what we do on Steelers Depot. Heck, we do better off by getting people to come to the site regularly, instead of trying to entice them to have to come. Heck, I wouldn't even know how to write a good clickbait article if my hand was held to the fire there. But I made sure to write at the end of that thing that, look, it's my, when you're dealing with somebody as reputable as a Chris Mortensen or Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport or some of these other major media or top level kind of Pittsburgh media guys, we have to write about this stuff. We have to pass along what the report says. And I put at the end of that post that, because of that, even if I don't believe in it, which was the case there, wasn't fully on board, we still had to pass it along. And little did I know that 4 hours later, let's face it, that was a backtrack.
Oh yeah, the Michael Jackson moonwalk.
Yeah, either that or my praying for Ben worked miraculously.
So either Mort was wrong or you're a deity, one or the other.
Yeah,
Right.
and one of those is probably more likely to be than the other. But yeah, I mean, just some of this is just garbage that they kind of put out there, and anytime it's associated with Ben, it's always, well, Ben's creating this because Ben likes to create this kind of drama, and I don't believe that for a second. I just think that they're trying to make a little bit of a story out of something. I'm willing to bet Mort didn't look down lower level to see a guy like Ron Cook report right after that Bills game that he talked to Ben, and Ben said, there's been nothing, whether or not there could be an instance where Ben maybe, that is not the same Ben or what have you. Sure. Anytime you have a surgery and you're dealing with a part of the body like that at his kind of age, there's a possibility that you might not, be able to bounce back for that. But, up until we see that, there's really been no evidence or words whatsoever that things aren't going to go perfect for Ben. So to have that report by Chris Mortensen come out of left field was kind of, look, I mean, it was good for business, but other than that, you just hate to see that kind of stuff. And to me, reporters lose a little bit of credibility when stuff like that happens.
Sure, because I think we all kind of knew, on our BS meter. I think it started kind of going off the charts on that initial report. And again, I think we were right about it. I think most of Steelers Nation knew that report was flimsy at best and clearly turned out to, I think, be inaccurate. But anyway, getting off of that, getting back to the roster moves. Again, Rudolph to IR, Hassenauer to the 53. Steelers have signed quarterback J.T. Barrett to the practice squad. Also signed safety Trey Matthews as well. So I had this tweet yesterday. Week 1, the Steelers quarterback room was Ben, Rudolph, and Dobbs, and they end it with Hodges, Paxton Lynch, and J.T. Barrett. What a difference a couple months make.
Woo, nobody could have predicted that. And
Nope.
I was thinking back last night as well, too. If Landry Jones was on this roster, how from the moment that Ben went down, how many would they have won the games that they won, and would they have won any more games? I think it's a fair question at this point.
Yep. I don't know. I think they would have. I think they would have won some of the games that they had lost, like the Bills game, like the Jets game, maybe even that first Cleveland game, just because the issues in those ones were turnovers, and I think Jones would have taken care of the football. I think the more interesting question is the games where the Steelers won and you saw the offense kind of open things up, would you have gotten that same kind of aggressive mentality with Landry Jones? Maybe, but also maybe not. So, I guess I asked myself, would Landry Jones made this offense average or a little below? And I guess my final answer would be yes, probably, which I think would result in the Steelers being in a better place than they are right now.
Could they be one more win better, I guess?
Yeah. I think basically you probably get one more win with Landry Jones, which obviously would be a huge difference right now.
I think so, too. I think they could at least have been one win better. Now, obviously, to even have gotten to that point, I mean, we're going way back now, but I mean, I guess if you believe the word that they reached out to Landry Jones, after Ben went down, that would have been a way to get him back because he obviously was cut after the previous preseason there. But yeah, it does make you wonder if they were able to sign him. I think Rudolph still would have been the guy to start with. But at least you could have given knowing what you had behind him in Landry at the time. And here we never like talking hypotheticals, do we? Here we are, ho ho ho. But long story short, I think it would have gave them. They would have been able to had a quicker hook on Rudolph maybe in some of these games. Definitely the kind of the Cleveland game and definitely the Cincinnati game. And I think they would have been one game better. I guess the other question goes is what could have had they retained Joshua Dobbs? What could they have done there?
Yeah, I think about the same. I think it probably get maybe one win better and an average to maybe slightly below average level of play. I just think those guys would have taken care of the football better. That's the number one goal for the offense. They've continually failed week in, week out. Merry Christmas. I know that's kind of doom and gloom, but
Yeah.
that's been the issue with the offense. It's not taking care of the football. All these losses have a common thread. Too many turnovers, especially in crucial moments. Even though they had only two against the Jets, they came in critical moments, taking points off your board. Happened against Buffalo into the first half, which granted wasn't a quarterback play, but you get my point. So I think those guys would have just taken better care of the football, and that's the key to success for this version of the Steelers.
One offensive touchdown out of this team per game, seven of the last 8 games.
Yeah, I mean, in this era of football, that is dreadful.
And like we said, man, you got to have some level of acceptable. You don't have to have Drew Brees or Tom Brady out there or Aaron Rodgers out there, but you just got to have some level of what we like to say, not competitive.
I don't know.
Mike
I don't know
Tomlin?
where you're going here.
What's Mike Tomlin always say? Complimentary football there.
Yeah.
But regardless, just don't turn the damn football over. If you don't do that, you're going to be in a lot better shape in a lot of these games, and that hasn't been the case. And the quarterback play has really hampered this team, and defenses now have gotten to the point. Yeah, we're gonna make sure you don't run. We're going to go after your quarterback, and we're going to make him beat us through the air, and they just haven't been able to do that at all.
Yep. Nope, not at all. Okay, Dave, to go to the injury report, Mike Tomlin had his press conference yesterday. Pretty lengthy discussion. Again, Mason Rudolph to IR. Marquise Pouncey out for Sunday's game with a knee injury. Tomlin didn't specify the exact nature of the knee injury. I suppose him not being placed on IR along with Rudolph is some sort of good sign for the prognosis. James Conner availability is, quote, very much in question, according to Tomlin, with a quad. My guess he's not going to play against the Ravens, and I think that's the names to look at. So no Pouncey, no Rudolph, doubtful on James Conner.
Yeah, and I posted yesterday morning on Twitter that the fact that they made the move with Mason Rudolph to IR, but did not move Marquise Pouncey to IR is positive, at least in my eyes. It means he does not need surgery. It means it's not a season-ending injury. We don't know what the length of it is. Heck, it might be 3 weeks. They might be holding out some glimmer of hope right now that, man, if we somehow get in the tournament, in other words, it's worth a 1 week risk here when it comes to him. And I agree. I mean, if it's not season ending and you think maybe you can get him back in maybe a couple weeks, and for some unknown instance you make it into playoffs, you could probably get him back there. So I take that as a positive overall, even though he's not going to play against the Ravens. And the way he left that field the other day, that's not overly surprising at all. Now comes the thing with James Conner. Man, you want to talk about another guy that topsy-turvy kind of season, if you will. Even if he thinks that he's close to playing, I don't think I play him. Because this is a guy that I don't think you can trust right now. I'm ready, I can play. And then, goes down nine snaps. Now, I know it wasn't the same injury and all like that, but right now, this guy has got to... this guy has just got to get healed.
Yep. No, I agree, and I think Conner's obviously performed well, but maybe something screwy with the running back rotation. You had success with him out of the lineup and having a probably clearer body of work with Benny Snell and Jalen Samuels and Kareth White. So maybe there's some benefit to that to help have an established rotation without Conner being the guy, and then he goes out, and now you're trying to figure it out with guys that haven't gotten probably the necessary practice reps during the week.
Yeah, and Mike Tomlin kind of talked about that. Some about why. I guess in so many words, why isn't the running game working? And do you have his direct quote there?
I can get it, and I disagree with the answer. By the way, I think he was kind of giving a very much a brush off type of answer.
He says, question on having lots of running backs active, and if it went better last week than it did against Buffalo. He says it did, but James Conner got got hurt 9 snaps in. So much for plans. We'll see how things unfold this week. That's why you've always got to have a hardcore plan, but remain light on your feet. This thing is very fluid. Things happen in game. I thought James had a great week's worth of preparation last week. We prepared to make him the featured guy. He got off to a good start. He got injured. That's just part of ball. We'll put together a plan this week based on people are disposal. We'll believe in that plan. We'll execute, but we'll also be light on our feet in case unforeseen happens. There was something else where we talked about stacking.
Yeah.
Here it is. He says, why haven't you been able to lean on your run game more than you had this season? Because we have young quarterbacks and young wideouts, and people stack the box, and we could perform better. So all of the above. That's kind of a loose cop out, but.
Yeah, I don't want to go into it too much. Maybe when we talk about the all-22, but I just think that's a inaccurate kind of lazy answer. But I think he was kind of intending it to be. I think you look at some of these issues. There's schematic problems, there's communication issues, and just guys not doing their job. So I don't look at the stacked box being the issue.
No, I don't either. You just block it up.
Yeah, I have an article today on Steelers Depot if you're interested while you're opening presents to look at some of the issues. And a lot of it is just asking guys to carry out assignments that aren't possible, trying to block these guys, backside linemen trying to block frontside linebackers, just not able to make it work. A lot of it just plain miscommunication where guys just aren't carrying out their assignment. And some guys that look old too. Ramon Foster in particular, I thought just looked plain old in that Jets game, trying to work to the second level. Some of them.
You laughed at me when I said that the other day, didn't you?
Well, you were talking about him out in space, like on a screen pass.
I was being in general, but obviously when you get him out in space is really when you noticed his non-fluidity movement. Of course, I wouldn't be great out in space either, but I'm paid to sit here in this chair.
Mm-hmm. I mean, some of them were difficult assignments. The article I wrote today where I think there's scheme issues because, again, they're trying to get these linemen to try to block linebackers. They're trying to reach these linebackers in space as the backside lineman, and it's not going to work. Even if you had a DeCastro or a Pouncey trying to work, it's still probably going to be a real big challenge. So I just think, again, there's been some schematic issues. Now we're talking run game issues where they just aren't blocking it well that really have me concerned about the plan that this offense has, and that's why they're not running the ball well. So it's a litany of problems, but at the bottom of my list is a young quarterback and young receivers.
It would help, to take a little bit of the pressure off, of a quarterback. But look, we see teams around the league. Look at the Ravens, man. I mean, now obviously they've got a highly athletic guy in Lamar Jackson that's really like a running back playing quarterback, and boy, he can flick that thing with a flick of the wrist on top of, which makes him even more deadly. But man, they'll load up the heavy uglies in there, and people will try to stack up against it, and they still run it down the throat.
Mm-hmm.
You go back to looking at some of that footage from 2004 against the Steelers. Teams defenses try to do the same thing. They knew they were going to run, but they couldn't stop it at times there. So it's all how you try to block up those stacked boxes. I mean, if they got 7 and you got 7 or 8, you should, that's one more.
Mm-hmm. And half the time the Steelers are in heavy personnel, 12, 13 personnel. Number 72 is eligible, so like they're inviting teams to sack the box when you're coming out heavy. That's not a surprise.
Sure,
and
when you have Banner and both your tight ends out there,
what do you expect to do?
Right, and how many times have they thrown out of that?
That's before the Jets game, the split was like 85% run, 15% pass. So obviously everyone knows it's likely to be a run.
Right. So when you're doing that, and one thing I think they should have done more, especially in the last couple of games here, is man, why aren't you just trying to spread it out more?
Mm-hmm.
and try to run out of it a little bit more, run out of 11 more, because you damn sure can't run out of, what do we like to call that, 13?
Yeah, 12, 13. 13 with Banner in the game.
13 personnel with Banner in the game. And we've already talked about how Vinette and McDonald aren't getting it done, as blockers there. You don't have a fullback. Maybe you have a little bit more success along the way had you had Rosie in there, but Rosie wasn't 100%, and I think they kind of paid for that a little bit along the way on top of it there. So to me, why not spread it out a little bit more and see if you can create more space and run at it that way?
I'd have to look at the numbers. I tried to do it briefly yesterday because there were numbers that actually suggested they weren't having really a whole lot more success running out of 11, and they've even had issues in that Jets game trying to do it out of 11. But point taken, I know we've discussed that before. I'll have to kind of do a deep dive in the numbers to really see if that translates to the stat sheet. But yeah, I understand the point. And again, those issues not related to young quarterbacks.
Yeah, it was kind of a cop-out.
Because they were running fine against Arizona and Cincinnati with young quarterbacks. I don't think that changed. So, I mean, again, I think Tomlin was intentionally giving a bad answer there, but regardless, that was a bad answer.
Where's DeCastro been pulling right to left? We've seen very little of that since the last time they had success doing it.
Well, they did it against the Jets, and there were times where the front side blocked it up well, and DeCastro pulled, and the front side got their down blocks, but you had a right tackle trying to block a middle linebacker and trying to come across, and he's never going to be able to make that block. So linebackers were running free and hitting the hole. It looks like the first Cleveland game all over again, where linebackers ran free and just were able to keep vision on the running back and attack and make tackles in the hole.
Well, there was the one time I remember DeCastro pull where Banner looked like he was trying to get out to the second level, just couldn't get to the linebacker.
That's one of them.
And that was the linebacker that made the tackle, I think, on Benny Snell.
Yep, lost the one. Banner, no lineman, not even just Banner, but no lineman's making that block. So why is that the assignment? I don't know. You're putting your players in impossible situations and giving yourself negative outcomes because of it.
And when's the last time we saw a crack toss or something along those lines? Trying to get a guy like Kareth White or whatnot maybe out on the edge and all. So look, going back to this offensive line again, people will say, well, the way they're not blocking this up and having problems with the handling blitzes and all like that. People, the easy thing to point to is, man, this team misses Mike Munchak. Okay, how true is that statement, and is it a game's worth statement?
Well, I wouldn't have really said that until these last 2 weeks. These last 2 weeks, the line is not only just not executed well, they're just not prepared. And I don't know why that is all of a sudden now. Like earlier in the year, they've had some bad games. 49ers game, Nick Bosa wrecked them, but that's Nick Bosa just winning individual matchups. I don't think that was as much a scheme issue. But these last 2 weeks, this line doesn't look prepared. They're put in impossible situations. They don't have answers. They don't have adjustments to fronts they're facing, to pressure packages that they're expecting. And that's a big problem. And that's making me more recently miss Mike Munchak.
Is it a game's worth difference?
I don't know. If you're able to block the blitzes against Buffalo, do you win that game? If you can run the ball better against the Jets, do you run that game? I mean, that's what it comes down to for me, potentially. But I don't know if it's a game's worth, but it still makes me miss Munchak recently. I don't think this line's finishing the year well. I think that's obvious.
And it's not so much from them. Look, it's an assignment issue.
It's also a schematic issue too, because on that Banner block, like how can Banner make that block?
Right. I mean, there's no way you can ask that big old boy to go get that linebacker at that angle.
Or any lineman. I mean, so that's not an assignment issue in terms of the lineman failing to do his job. That's a schematic issue of that's an impossible block that you can't possibly expect that guy to carry out.
Maybe they miss Munchak more from a run coordinator. Standpoint than they do, than they do the actual, coaching up the offensive lineman.
Well, you would say against Buffalo and even against the Jets, these pressure packages that they're not blocking at all, that's a schematic issue, correct? Most of the time, like the pressure packages, the DB blitzes that they're not picking up, I call that most of the time a schematic issue, not a player issue.
Right.
Is that fair?
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, look, this is the same. This is the same group that they didn't forget their bucket steps and all like that. There's certain things that they've been taught by Munchak over the years that just aren't going to go away.
Right. But so I'm saying you would put those issues I'm talking about on the coach.
Yeah, especially the handling of the blitzes and all,
right.
Man.
I mean, so we're talking about missing him in the run game. As a run game coordinator, we're talking about issues in pass protection.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think more recently, last 2 weeks, I've missed Munchak a great deal.
Ben Roethlisberger just put out a tweet via Erin, who runs the account over there, and she made sure that she sent it to me. P.S. Contrary to recent reports out there about my football future and my uncertainty about playing again, I am working hard and am more determined than ever to come back stronger and better than ever next year.
All right. That's a good Christmas gift.
How about that for a Christmas present?
Yeah, because I know we're getting a little doom and gloom over here. I apologize for that, but all right. So, yeah, again, just to reiterate how wrong that initial report was, I fully expect Ben to be back in uniform starting week 1 for the Steelers in 2020.
I do, too. And once again, there's been nothing other than that. Yeah. Barring anything happening, any kind of a setback or whatnot, all this other stuff is malarkey.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dave. I want to go back to Tomlin and
so what do they need to do here? During the offseason. I mean, look, we don't think that they're going to change offensive coordinators.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
We don't think that they're going to change defensive coordinators. We don't know what's going to happen with Danny Smith.
But
I mean, what happens? Look, I mean, it hasn't been a banner year for Eddie Faulkner either. First year, hadn't been a great year for the tight ends.
Well, they're not gonna fire James Daniel. I mean, he may retire.
Right. Obviously not a great first season for Sean Surratt. Is anything going to happen there?
I don't know. Positional coaches are so tough to evaluate. So much stuff happens behind the scenes. Did anyone see James Saxon getting fired last year? I didn't. So I don't know. Nothing, I guess, would shock me on the offensive side of the football. I don't think any changes are being made defensively, obviously. Maybe something happened to Terrell Austin, sort of promotion, maybe Tom Bradley. Who knows? Maybe something there. But I don't know what's going to happen.
What does Tom Bradley do about right now? Go get people water or what?
Well, based on training camp, it was working the jugs machine. So I don't think they're going to really make any major changes there offensively. Again, I don't know because, like I said, so much happens behind the scenes that we aren't privy to, and it makes it tough to evaluate.
And it'll probably be it'll probably seem ultra amazing when Ben comes back and everything kind of seems fixed, right?
All right, yeah, that might be a lot of the reasons. Just kind of keep the core in place and trust that number 7 will make things better. To go to Tomlin, one other thing I want to mention from his press conference, I know a lot of people are pining for Paxton Lynch to start. Tomlin shot that down, and his reasoning is, quote, our intimate knowledge of it and our comfort with Paxton Lynch is not very high because of the time in which we've acquired him and the nature of which you have to work when you're preparing to play games. We acquired him after the season started. We had 2 very young quarterbacks in front of him. We've been very thoughtful about making sure they've gotten a significant amount of reps in terms of overall readiness. Obviously, we're going to work Paxton some this week, but what he's done to this point does not provide a great deal of comfort for him or for us because of the variables in which I just mentioned. So Tomlin, normally not caring about comfort, but when it comes to quarterbacks, doesn't have it in Paxton Lynch.
Yeah, look, and how could he right now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you trying to get all these other guys any available snaps that they can have. You probably have to go back to week 6 was the last time that Paxton Lynch got anything, any breadcrumbs, from snaps, during a regular practice. Outside of that, he's looking at the card team and helping out there, running the scout team and whatnot. So, and on top of that, when you go back, you want to talk about not having a lot of comfort. Go back and look at his tape.
Yeah, he hasn't played in the game in 2 years. It'll be 2 years, December 31st. So it's just been a while.
Right, and when you go back, and I did this last night, and looked at a little bit of his play, it's not great, So, yeah. and that's why he was looking for a job, and why he ended up in the practice squad, initially, with the Steelers, because people look. Will we see him against the Ravens? I wouldn't bet against it, because I'll tell you this: if Devlin Hodges comes out and throws another quick interception or two, you're gonna have to try to do everything that you can to win that game. And if that means bringing Paxton Lynch in to see if you can get a little bit of a quick push out of that, that's what you got to do here. So I'm not going to say that you're not going to see him in this game, but I don't think you go up to Devlin Hodges, you tell him that you have a short leash on him. I mean, by now it's probably an understood in his head that and look, I mean, Devlin, we're going to see what kind of moxie and what's inside Devlin Hodges as well too, because quite honestly, he's playing for his NFL future this week.
Mm-hmm. Well, unfortunately, we were talking about this discussion last week before the Jets game, coming off that horrid Buffalo game, and obviously things didn't go the way he wanted it to. So it's just about taking care of the football. That's the bottom line. It's just, and Tomlin even was asked about it. I think it was a good question. What is the common thread between Hodges' mistakes? And Tomlin just kind of shot back and quipped back and said, "Does it even matter? We're just turning the football over." And that's the number one thing this offense can't do, and it's the number one thing they're doing week in and week out.
Right. And the question was kind of phrased, physical ability, arm strength versus decision making and deciding who to throw to. Was the question. He laughed it up. Said, "Look, it doesn't matter. Long story short, just don't turn the damn football over. Maybe we win one or two of these games along the way." I mean, he obviously knows. And look, you probably couldn't do this if you didn't know that you had the defense that you have. But man, if I'm on that, I know there shouldn't be animosity in that locker room right now. But man, if I'm on the defensive side of football, I'm thinking to myself, man, what more do you guys want?
Yeah, I'm sure it's frustrating.
Because you can't. I mean, you can try with all your might, to go into games and say, think we got to get more turnovers and all, but those things just, a lot of times those are happenstance, circumstance, if you will. Now, obviously, rushing off the edge and, thank God for T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree forcing some of these fumbles this year, via sacks and all like that. But some of this other stuff, is just rushing coverage and forcing, quarterbacks into bad decisions or whatnot, and then getting it that way. It's not like you can draw up, all right, go out there and get us an interception on this play, boys, kind of thing there. And, just the common thread you and I have had throughout this season is what happens when this defense is not getting more than one turnover. And we see, they've lost the 3 games that they've had just one or less turnover in,
Mm-hmm. But against the Bills, they had 2 takeaways or 3 takeaways, whatever the number was, and still lost that game. So the offense just isn't doing them any favors. So I'm fine with Hodges being the starter over Lynch. I don't know if Tomlin's ever really cared about comfort before until that answer, but I think Lynch is a guy that hasn't played well and hasn't started a game in the NFL in 2 years. So why change that now?
Yeah, but I'm going to have that same have that same hook by my side that I had, this last game, because I mean. If he comes right out of the chute and throws one, I guess depending on how bad it is, maybe I can let him off the hook for one, as long as it does. What's been the whole saying the whole time with Duck? Don't kill us. If it looks like he's killing you at any point in this game, and make no mistake about it, they should be in this game from the sheer fact of the opposing offense is not going to have players on it. I mean. Thank goodness they're evening the advantage some, if you will.
Right.
And if you can get their side to be the one turning the football over, maybe you can get. Look, this might be 9-6, but a win is a win here. So,
wow.
But I do think. Look, I don't think you go into this and let Lynch start it. Obviously. But, man, if Hodges comes out and throws a quick interception or 2, you got to do whatever you think that you can do to get a spark in this offense. And if that's putting Paxton Lynch in, then you got to do it.
I'm with you. Anything else from Tomlin? A pretty short press conference. Not a whole lot going on. Anything else you wanted to add before you move on?
Yeah, 14 minutes. Not a lot to talk about there. So, yeah, we can move on.
Okay, Dave, I want to talk about all 22 briefly and kind of give our initial impressions on the Jets game after coming through the coach's tape. But before we do that, let's talk about our friend Dave and Dave's Popcorn. I'm sure that's probably a Christmas gift around the Christmas tree for several Steelers fans this year. So tell us about our friend over in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, original Goody Dave's Goody. No, I always say it wrong. Goody's Original Popcorn. That's where we need to start off here when we're talking about Dave and his business here in Las Vegas. And you can find that by going to goodieslv.com. That's GOODYSLV.com. Man, I have gotten so many tweets and emails from people that have already ordered from Dave, and they actually absolutely love his popcorn, and I knew they would. Also, he has got a promotion going on right now through the end of the year. So I guess we got 1 week from right now, and this might be the last time that we talk about this promotion on top of it. So what he has is he's got let's see here. I'm looking at it right now. A Pittsburgh Steelers Rydell full-size authentic speed helmet that is going to go to a random orderer off of his site starting from last week on. So if you want a chance, if you want a free opportunity to take advantage of winning this helmet that Dave has, go to goodieslv.com and order you up some popcorn. Look, I know it's Christmas Day right now. I know you've already got your present. How about give yourself a present? You deserve it. Delicious handcrafted popcorn, gluten-free, non-GMO seeds, 100% coconut oil, non-trans fat cheese. I don't know what all that exactly means, Alex. I think it means it's good for me, and it better be, because I got a $25 a week popcorn habit. Boy, when you look at some of the flavors here, he's got you covered. Anybody. Extra butter, cheese, spicy buffalo, which is one of my favorites I talk about all the time, jalapeno cheddar, white cheddar, salt and vinegar, dill pickle, loaded baked potato, pizza, chili lime. He's got all the kettle corn, churro, Fruity Loops. That's another one of my favorites. And the caramel is also a must-have for me. The three that I always usually get are caramel, spicy buffalo, and the Fruity Loops ones. He's got sour nerds, and he's also got a mix and match kind of variety there with cheese and caramel in there. Once again, gluten-free, non-GMO, 100% coconut oil, non-trans fat cheese, vegan options as well. So also between now, like I said, between now and the start of the new year, if you go and you use promo code HELMET, that's HELMET, when placing an order, you'll automatically be entered in to the random drawing here of that Steelers helmet, and that'll be announced right after the first of the year on the show here. I'll announce the winner there. So Dave is good people. He's a small business here in Las Vegas. He's got absolutely fantastic popcorn. Oh, he also wanted me to put his Instagram account out there, and I'm trying to click on it on the website. It won't open there. But anyway, search him out. Search his, I think it's Goodies LV on Instagram, but I think you can find a picture of the Steelers helmet that you'll be in the raffle for by searching out his Instagram account there, and you can look at it that way. So once again, thanks for Dave for being, he's been a sponsor, I think, the last 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks here on the show. We certainly do appreciate it. So make sure you go to goodieslv.com and check out his site and his popcorn.
Yep, please do. All right, Dave, let's go to the All-22. Any initial impressions? What kind of stuck out to you the most when coming back to the coach's tape for this loss?
I tell you, one thing that aggravated me was that third down and long play in the fourth quarter. That they gave up the run to Le'Veon Bell. It didn't pick up the first down. I think it picked up 11 yards there. And boy, just the alignment there overall. You're begging for an inside draw or just an inside run, which it happened to be. And you're kind of resigned to the fact that you're going to give up that you're potentially okay with giving up a field goal in that situation. That really irked me last night when I came across it.
Right. Although they got really close to blocking that thing with Minka. I had an article yesterday that I'm not going to be able to explain all right now. I'll take 10 minutes to do it.
Yeah, but that's after the fact, though.
Yeah, you're right. No, I hear you. It helped put them in field goal range and make that a manageable field goal. Yeah, they weren't good enough. Even though I think the third down numbers looked decent overall, there were still some critical third downs that they either gave up most of the yards and allowed them to go for it on fourth down and put themselves in manageable field goal situations. They had that one early in the game, I think on the first drive where it was, 3rd and 7, they get 6.5, and on 4th and half a yard, they go for it and they pick it up. And the Steelers aren't ready. They got 13 guys on the field and they're offsides, and it was just a whole mess. And then there was that play you're referencing. So some situational football, even defensively, while they're obviously the strength of this team and played well overall, you still had some failures.
And his Instagram account, I just found it real quick here. It's Goodies Original Popcorn on Instagram there, and I think he's supposed to have get a picture of that helmet up here pretty soon here for you.
All right, easy enough for people to find. So yeah, I hear on that for the defense. But they did get really close for that field goal block. I can't believe Minka didn't actually get it. And I had an article yesterday on Steelers Depot that kind of described what Danny Smith saw and had to exploit the weaknesses in attacking a rookie and attacking technique to nearly make that play. But unfortunately, that one goes in the ifs and buts category.
Other than that run play to Bell, I thought they did across the board a fairly good job against Le'Veon Bell. Boy, there's some instances there where even the Jets are running some power type situations. You see guys like Mark Barron out on the edge taking on those big uglies.
I think Barron's been playing well lately.
I really think
better. Okay,
better. But I mean, look, none of them smaller guys look forward to a pulling 300-pound ugly on the outside. But I thought there was at least one instance there where I thought Barron did a good job. I thought Edmonds coming up, filling that gap on that play was right, and Tyson Alualu coming backside there, chasing the football down, gets in and gets a half a tackle on that play. You also see some instances. Look, Joe Hayden's another guy, not afraid to take on a big ugly on the outside there, and as you know, he had some instances with like a shoulder or something. That stuff, sticking your face in the fire that's a big fire or fan to stick your face in. So I think overall they have done a good job of getting their linebackers to scrape into right spots. I think we saw an instance of Bush doing that successfully, although one, I think he got slipped by on an arm on a missed arm tackle on one of those there. But one of the things that we've kind of talked about with Bush is him trying to do too much at times and get himself in the wrong gap at times, and it looks like he's playing better from that aspect. As you mentioned, Mark Barron seems to be playing better. Both those guys on the edge, Bud Dupree and T.J. Watt. Boy, go back to that play against the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to talk after this season's over about all the how good a pass rusher Bud Dupree has become. Well, he's always been a good run defender, and boy, that early kind of getting that outside free arm free and keeping that edge set against Murray there in that game against the Cardinals really stuck out. But once again, I think it goes back to this run defense. They still have their issues at times. But it really stuck out to me that they seemed really sound against the Jets outside of a few plays. Now, one of those plays was I think scheme and the call worked against them on that long bell run. But Javon Hargrave, boy, folks, get a good look at Javon Hargrave these last couple games, last game and this last game against the Ravens, because he's going to be gone. I have a feeling as well too. But just overall, I've been impressed, and against the Jets, Alex, the run defense.
Yeah, I think it's been really solid. And they're just gap sound. They run hard. And how about Tyson Alualu? The seasons he's having, I did not see that one.
No.
How old is he? 30
or 31, right?
Right, and the dude's playing like he's in the prime of his career, and he shouldn't be. He should be at the twilight of it. But hats off to him. He's really kind of capitalized on the opportunity. He's 32. Going to turn 33 in May.
Wow. He is a guy that we've always regarded as not that great of a pass rusher and okay against the run. Boy, he's really taken steps forward in both areas here this year. A guy that's a good depth guy to have, a guy that you probably went into this season thinking, okay, after this season, we can probably move on and do something else depth-wise with him. I don't think that's the case anymore. At least I have talked about him. I know he is stuck out on tape for at least the last 5 games. I seen every week there's something with him. He's a guy that also, when you look at his entire career, never misses games due to injury. I'll find some wood to knock on here so I don't jinx him here. But he always stays healthy. He always seems to be kind of. How often do you see him off his feet?
Right, it's a great point. Never.
And how many times do we talk about? Look, you cannot. One of the bad things about L.T. Walton in his very brief playing time that he's had is he was off his feet too much. And really early on in his career, the same was with Daniel McCullers.
Easy to get him to go down once he starts wobbling.
Right, and it hadn't been so much with him either, this year. And I tell you one thing that stuck out to me too, and it's probably insignificant about the amount of playing time that he played against the Jets, but I thought Isaiah Buggs did a good job of avoiding trash at his feet on one of those runs there. So that's just a testament to good coaching and good talent evaluation there. But yeah, back to Tyson Alulu. Man, there is no way in the world right now do I cut him for that measly whatever savings that you would get for him. I let him at least go back to training camp and compete for the job. But right now, he should be a depth guy on this team.
Yeah, you'd be saving only a pittance if you were to cut Alulu, and it's just not worth it with Hargrave almost certainly gone into it. Coming off the injury, I mean, you expect it to come back healthy, but obviously his injury history is a concern. You just never know. So I think Alulu will be back at 33 years old next year. Will be the final year of his contract, and we'll go from there. Offensively, again, I spoke to it earlier. I won't rehash the issue, but I just thought from a schematic standpoint and also a communication standpoint, that's why the run game failed. It wasn't a stacked box issue. It wasn't a young quarterback issue. It's when you have Pouncey and Banner blocking the same linebacker at the second level, when you have Nick Vannett and Deion Kane not on the same page, when you're asking linemen to block, front side linebackers that just, are impossible to reach in time. So I think there were a lot of just specific issues to go well beyond the easy answer of, oh, well, you got a young quarterback and teams are going to stack the box against you. That's not a good enough answer. Yeah,
look, I mean, where do we start here?
I mean, we don't have to rehash it. I mean, I think we talked about it. I just wanted to kind of reiterate because that's my big takeaway from the offense. From the positives, I thought Deontay Johnson played well, and his route running ability to separate and kind of just craftiness as a route runner, as a rookie, has been really impressive.
Boy, for a guy that's hitting the rookie wall right now,
doesn't look like it.
That was a hell of a game for hitting the rookie wall right there, and hopefully he can finish this thing out against the Ravens as well too. What does he need? What did I write? He needs 7 more catches to set the rookie reception record for a season that goes all the way back to Troy Evers, I think, in 1999. You wrote that it would be the first time since Shanklin and Johnson in 1974.
No, 1970, Dave Smith and Ron
70, okay. For a rookie to lead the team in receptions. And Matthew Marchie said lead the team in receptions, a rookie, as well too, right? Because he's got how many of those? He got 5.
Well, in receiving touchdowns, you mean?
Right.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. So that's a good stat from Matthew.
As well there.
Wait, what's Matthew's stat? That Johnson would be the first Steeler ever, or the first since when?
I don't know. Let's see. I'll have to pull up. I know it was about touchdowns here. He just wrote it yesterday. Anyway, keep talking.
Yeah, because I don't know what I just want to know what the context of that stat is. But yeah, he's got 5 of them. Connor's got 3. McDonald has 3. Washington and Juju all with 3. So Johnson very likely, with the rate this offense is going, 1 touchdown a game, to have the team lead in receptions, in not yards, because Washington's going to be ahead of him unless Johnson goes off against the Ravens, and touchdowns. So really impressive rookie year again. Route running, ability to separate, just kind of the nuance he shows for a guy that not only is a rookie but supposed to be a senior in college right now. Came out a year early, so he's a little bit older. He's 22, 23 years old, but still a guy that's, I think, playing football well beyond his years.
Here's the context of it right here. It is that he can also accomplish the rare feat of leading the team in touchdown receptions outright as a rookie, which has not been done since tight end Eric Green did so back in 1990. Mike Wallace shared the team lead in touchdown reception during his rookie season of 2009, but did not lead outright.
And same with Troy Edwards, who tied Hines Ward for the lead as a rookie, but did not have it outright. How good was Eric Green? I'm sure you watched him a ton growing up. I mean, a short stay in Pittsburgh, but a couple of great years for the Steelers in the 90s.
Yeah, back when you talked about, really mostly tight ends were blockers,
Right.
And to actually have one with some athletic ability that could be a weapon in the passing game, that was kind of a little bit ahead of its time back then.
Yeah. Anyway, great stuff from Deontay Johnson. Any other takeaways from all 22 offense, defense you want to touch on?
I would like to see them maybe give Benny Snell a chance to be the guy.
Assuming the Connor's out, you want to see Snell kind of take that role.
I would like to see him in a situation where he's back there and can maybe get in a groove a little bit.
What about Snell in his rookie year has impressed you the most? If you had to pick kind of one trait or one aspect of his game, what's been the most impressive part of it?
Getting yards after contact, I think. The ability to always look like he's falling forward. Most part there. There had been a few times where I wish that he would have maybe made somebody miss there at the line of scrimmage or whatnot. He seems to. There's been 2 or 3 plays that I think had he not gotten tripped up, below the knees, that he maybe could have had an 11, 12, 13-yard run or whatnot. So I just think his ability at second level to move the pile, his short yardage ability, obviously has been a plus for this team. And, he's had a couple explosive runs, which really wasn't his M.O., percentage-wise when you go back and look at his work at Kentucky. So I those are the main things I think, and a little bit of pass protection, but we had a kind of an inkling that he might be a willing person in that area. We just haven't seen him have to do it a lot, but I think that's it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think the dude knows what type of back he is, and that's a valuable trait to recognize the style of runner you are and to embrace that. So happy with Snell, and obviously Connor, assuming he's out Sunday, Snell you would assume is going to be lead dog. I mean, Gareth White's going to get mixed in, Seamus is going to get work too, but I think you're going to see a lot of Benny Snell football on Sunday.
Yeah, and I would like to see that. I'd like to see him try to stay in there and see if it makes a difference with him kind of being in the groove, if you will, and see if he's a kind of maybe the back that maybe starts off slow and maybe gets heated up a little bit there.
Any other final thoughts from the All-22 before we start wrapping up the show, Dave?
I do like some of the coverage communications that's going on. Was that a zombie call? Over there on that one side there, you're passing off the underneath crosser there, and then you're replacing the safety on the back end there on one of those first half throws. I think there with Joe Hayden on that side there. They're doing a lot better job communicating overall. I do think though there was a miscommunication maybe between Hilton and Bush on the Wesco. Play there. You're still going to get those kind of minor instances there, but boy, it just goes to show you communication and having mixing rush with coverage together, what it can do on the back end. Now on that touchdown, I watched that touchdown pass to Robbie Anderson several times by now from the All-22, and could have Edmonds maybe done a little bit better job? Look, that was just a damn good throw, man.
Yeah, I don't know why Edmonds was playing so shallow pre-snap. It's 3rd and 9. I don't know why he's 5 yards off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, but even so, I mean, he does make up a little. Could he have gotten a little bit tighter and made that window tighter there? Yeah.
I just think initial depth would have helped. I know he's playing bracket coverage inside, release inside route, but I think he was too shallow. Just pre-snap, I think that's kind of what screwed him from the beginning.
But boy, that was a hell of a throw and a hell of a catch.
It was, yeah. I think you have to talk about how great of a play that was, because that was awesome job by the Jets. With the Hayden interception or near interception that you're referencing, that's the play where they had that pattern matching, and that's where pattern matching really helps you solve a lot of problems around combinations that offenses will give you, where Minka's going to come down and play the crosser when the receiver runs a dig route, and Hayden's now going to replace and become their free safety. That's not new. They've adjusted to that since about 2017, but I think I usually hear that as an under call. Hayden calls under for Minka to pick it up, and Hayden replaces it as a deep safety. Darnold didn't see it, basically threw it right to Hayden. Unfortunately, he didn't finish the play, make the interception. Probably could have challenged that and won it, but I think it was third down anyway. So, yeah, pattern matching, man match. Good stuff there from Keith Butler, Mike Tomlin, and company.
Yeah, anything else that stuck out to you defensively that we didn't cover? Or
No, that was about it. Other than to say Barron, I thought he's been playing better, and I think he's kind of gotten settled in, and I'm not saying that he's been playing awesome, and obviously his roster spot very much is in question during the offseason, but I think in coverage he was better. His run defense has been steadier. He just seems to kind of be hitting his stride towards the end of the year.
I think one other thing I know that hit me going through the offensive tape last night as well too is, I think we saw good instances in that game of or at least a few of them why David DeCastro is a Pro Bowler and should probably be an All-Pro again. This year, there was one instance there after Finney had come in the game. They had ran off of right guard there. And DeCastro does a good job of helping Finney. He's banging to his left on McClendon, and helps Finney get a very tough reach. I mean, that's especially a guy like McClendon get a tough reach in that situation, and then he goes on to help DeCastro goes on to help to escort the linebacker politely out of the hole there. If Finney holds that block a little bit longer on McClendon, I'm not so sure that White's not able to bounce that thing to the outside and maybe home run that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the difference between a good run and a great run is so thin in the NFL. Because
McClendon does a great job of fighting through that reach of Finney there, that he gets an arm on gets an arm on White before he can totally get past him there. So the hole was there a little bit momentarily. Had Finney been able to hold that block a little bit longer, it could have been a big gain there on that particular one. It just goes back to two. I kept thinking, boy, I loved Steve McClendon when he was in Pittsburgh, and he is a guy that's still playing at an exceptionally high level for sure. And I don't think they're going to turn him loose over there. But if they did, for some reason, you could get him to come back on the cheap, especially if you lose a guy like Javon Hargrave. That's somebody I definitely would like to see back in Pittsburgh, at least the way he's playing right now. Boy, Javon Hargrave really looked good on the defensive side of football. A couple snaps in that game where I mentioned about Lulu in that one as well too. There's one play where you could actually see it was on the Bud Dupree sack. You could actually see Javon Hargrave printing money on that play. If you zoom in close enough on that, Alex, you can actually see the money being printed for Javon Hargrave.
I saw the dollar signs in his eye. So yeah, he's gonna make bank, at least 10 million, probably closer to 12 to 14 million on the open market this offseason. And good for him. I mean, dude from South Carolina State. I remember him at the Senior Bowl, didn't get the invite, was an injury replacement, comes in the final day, doesn't even have a South Carolina State helmet, just has a red helmet, just nondescript, and just has a dominant practice and becomes a third round pick and is gonna get paid this offseason. All right, Dave, before we get to some reader emails and close out the show, let's talk about our friends over at MyBookie.
All right, let's talk about our guy. Look, there's a heavy NBA lineup today, right? Who else playing today?
Let me pull it up. We got 5 games today of the NBA at noon. So after games on, by the time you listen to this, Boston and Toronto, 2:30 Milwaukee, Philly. That'll be a good one. Giannis and the 76ers. 5 o'clock Houston at Golden State. Golden State, obviously a terrible year for them. Banner game, Clippers, Lakers at 8 p.m. and then 10:30 to close things out. West Coast, the Pelicans and the Nuggets. Nuggets having a great year.
What's that, a quadruple header?
Yeah, it's a lot of games.
All right. Are you into basketball? Or are you the type of fan that knows football so well that you can choose any game and call it? Well, MyBookie is the place for you because they let you turn all of your sports knowledge into cash in your wallet. Between football season, NBA, and especially today with a huge NBA slate and the start of college basketball season, look, it's bowl time too. And prop star Daniel Valente doing a great job. And look, I know these aren't really highly read articles on the site right now at this time of year, but really a lot of good information every day before these bowl games that Daniel's putting up, kind of previews and players to watch that might be draft worthy. So try to, if you hit SteelersDepot.com, make sure you hit on these kind of bowl previews. They're quick, easy reads. He puts a couple of animation or videos in there for you to look at as well too. So just shout out to Daniel Valente on these things as well too. Does a great job, and he's gonna have a heck of a head start on us, Alex. chance when it comes to several of these players here. But bowl season, it's time to get off the sideline and get in on the action with MyBookie. If you're the kind of guy or girl who likes to bet a little and win a lot, try a parlay. For instance, if you like a couple of the big favorites this week, parlays are perfect because they let you bet multiple games together for a much bigger percentage payout. So, if you're going to bet this season, do the smart thing and go to mybookie.ag because no one gives you more ways to win. Tired of watching the games from the couch with nothing to gain? MyBookie wants to get your mind off everything else and back on the game. If you join right now, MyBookie will match your deposit halfway all the way up to $1,000. That means if you deposit $2,000, you get an extra $1,000 in free money to play with. Just use promo code TERRIBLE. That's TERRIBLE to activate the offer. Once again, that's promo code TERRIBLE to take advantage of MyBookie's generous sign-up offer. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid.
All right, Dave, let's get some Christmas emails here to close out the show. We'll do 3 or 4. I know we want to keep the show relatively short today, but what do we got for us?
All right, let's see. Anthony Cruz writes in, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's to David, Alex, and all the Steelers Depot staff. Always appreciate what you guys do, and sure am very grateful of all the time you guys put in to the Steelers stuff. Boy, looking back at the B.J. Finney freeze snap back in Week 1 is brilliant. I actually feel a whole lot better where we were in the where we are per standings now. One thing for sure, when Ben comes back, is he will have a solid wide receiver trio in Juju, Washington, and Deontay. Guys, how do you feel about Connor and his injury prone and possibly drafting another running back? Is just a damn shame he keeps getting hurt. I hate to go with the whole injury prone excuse me thing there, but I'll tell you this, he is hurt a lot, so I don't know if that means the same thing when it comes to him. I'll tell you, here's one thing, it's going to be very hard to give him a contract worth any amount of money. Right now where he's at, you're probably going to have to, you're probably going to have to leave him where he is and say, look, if you can blow it out and stay healthy for a 16-game season and lead the league in rushing or whatnot, or come close to it, then maybe we'll put the franchise tag on you and talk there. As far as drafting another running back, I mean, nothing says you can't do that. Maybe in the 6th or 7th round. Something along those lines. But I don't think there's so many other needs on the offensive side of football, and you're probably going to need who knows, you're probably going to need another defensive tackle, maybe another edge rusher, maybe another safety. I mean, there's not enough of this to go around. So you're already without a first-round draft pick there. So I don't know if you spend an early draft pick on a running back.
I'm with you. I wouldn't draft a running back early. You take one day 3, potentially. It just depends on the board, the talent, what grade you have on guys. But you got a pretty crowded room. Running backs you can kind of plug and replace. So you might address that in 2021 when Connor is set to hit free agent, no longer on your team. It's unfortunate. Dude's a really talented player. I don't want to make light of his injury situation. No one is more frustrated by the injury history than James Conner. But you're right, Dave. It's hard to trust him, and it's hard to commit any long-term money to Conner.
From Jeff Burns, writes in, hey, Dave and Alex, I know the loss to the Jets effectively ended the season, but I have a new sense of optimism since the last time Alex sounded as defeatist as he did on Monday's show.
Did I sound that bad? Right.
The Steelers started winning, LOL. My question is, do you think if Ben's injury did not happen, would the Steelers have made the move to get Minkah Fitzpatrick? Is it worth to have a lost year to get the impactful piece this defense has needed for years? Ignore the naysayers about what you guys talk about. They can start their own podcast. You guys tell it like it is and what needs to be talked about. Happy holidays. Jeff, no relation to Artie Burns. Thanks for that, Jeff. Look, I think they probably, regardless with Ben, I think they probably would have made that deal for Minkah.
Yes, I agree, but I don't think the Dolphins do that deal with Pittsburgh because Miami only made that trade because they thought Pittsburgh was going to be awful this year and they're going to have the highest draft pick possible. So while I think the Steelers certainly would have attempted to make that deal, I don't think Miami would have felt the same way if they knew they had been in a playoff caliber type team. So I think ultimately Minkah would not have become a Steeler. And then the question is it worth it in hindsight? I don't like to play that game too much. I understand the point, and I just know I'll be very excited to see a Ben-led offense and a Minkah led defense in 2020.
Yeah, there were reports out there, I think, that there were maybe a few teams that the Dolphins were thinking about. I know.
Sure.
I mean, why wouldn't you try to maybe, if all trades are equal? And look, I mean, the Steelers gave him a little bit more than, maybe the Steelers gave him a little bit more. I mean, we'll never know.
Mm-hmm. But the report was that the Miami chose Pittsburgh because they planned for Pittsburgh to have the highest pick of the teams that were interested.
Yeah, maybe. I know that was what was out there, but we don't really know. But I think Pittsburgh still tries to make that deal. Yeah, whether or not they get it done, because still having been, who knows? But look, I mean, you look back at that deal now, and I mean, you got a first round player for a first round pick, basically. So you're not going to have one, or at least we don't think they're going to have one for this upcoming year. But I mean, you got a first round player that figures to be with you for multiple years now for a first round pick. You just sold it, sold it out, from the future there. All right, let's see if we got anything else here worthy of reading here. I know we're going to try to keep this episode a little bit short. I think we've gone through most of these. Always. Oh, here's one. Here's four. This will be a good one to end with here too. Christopher Schrader writes in: is it just me, or did it feel like Mason had Munchausen syndrome yesterday, talking about him getting injured in the game, and he's got a link. Do you know what Munchausen syndrome is?
I'm trying to think back to all the episodes of House that I watched where I know Munchausen was on there. Is that the one where you think you have a disease and you don't, or what is Munchausen's? Or wait, do you know what that is?
Yeah, I actually do. Because
how do you know what it is?
Isn't it from some Eminem songs? Didn't Eminem talk about some of this with his wife or whatnot? Anyway, I have heard of this actually before.
Well, what is it?
It is a fictitious disorder, a mental disorder in which a person repeatedly and deliberately acts as if he or she has a physical or mental illness when he or she is not really sick.
All right, so I was right. I remember my days at Greg House.
Well, there you go. Look, here's as soon as I read this, I kind of, and no offense, Christopher, I kind of rolled my eyes here. Anyway, he goes on to write, every time the cameras went to him, he closed his eyes as if he was putting on a show. And this says, you, quote, unquote, Dave, have said before, we're becoming spoiled by Big Ben, who would have played through that injury. If Mason was so hurt, why was he on the sideline and at a moment had his why was he on the sideline and at moment's notice had his helmet on? I hope Mason isn't the future for the black and yellow. Thoughts? I'm rolling my eyes at you, Christopher. Okay, don't take issue with this here. From the moment he got hit, man, you could tell A, that hurt, and B, he was in pain. And I think both those things mean the same thing. That he went down hard on that shoulder. Mm-hmm. And I how does he know the cameras are on him on the sideline?
He doesn't. There's no red light that blinks on. Plus, that wasn't a live shot. That was them having a camera on him for minutes at a time and then replaying that when they saw him win. So that's not a live thing. You don't know the cameras are on. No, he doesn't. He's not faking the injury. I mean, that was an obvious injury that he suffered. A pretty nasty one. He wanted to be out there. He was playing well. He knows what that would have meant to him to be able to play out that game and potentially play in Week 17. So no, it's not fictitious. It's a real injury. It's unfortunate, but that's what happened.
And Chris, I'm not going to single you, or I am going to single. Take this however you want. I think there are people in this fan base, a large group of them, that already have sided up here with liking or not liking guys. Not giving these guys time or whatnot. Boy, I put up a poll just the other day on Twitter, Alex, saying if all three guys were fully healthy right now, which one would you start against the Ravens? Mason ran away with it, and Paxton was second ahead of Devlin Hodges. Now, we're just a couple of weeks ago, we in the midst of Duck Mania. And all like that. And now all of a sudden he's been thrown to the curb and put out for the trash there. Look, I know it makes for good conversation to draw aside and say, look, I told you that this guy wasn't this or whatnot. I personally, I think Mason's been given too much of the Landry treatment right out of the gate. Has he been great? No. But as Alex and I said at the top of the show, it'd been interesting to see had he played these final 6 quarters of football here to see what maybe he can do here. So no, I don't think Mason has Munchausen syndrome.
No, I don't either. It's the easiest question I think I'll answer all year long. How would you respond to that poll had you voted for your Week 17 starter, assuming health wasn't a factor?
Mason, 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 Mason.
All right, me too. And that's why we say that you have to look at these seasons as a whole, because things change so much from week to week. It's hard to draw any conclusions in the middle of a season with young quarterbacks because circumstances in play can change dramatically. I think Steelers fans have found that out in the worst way this season.
Boy, it's been a heck of a ride of what we've gotten to evaluate. It hadn't been a dull season, that's for sure. I mean, and also we've talked about a couple weeks ago. I really still kind of feel this way. It'd be a bit disappointing now at this point at a position that they were in just a couple of weeks ago for them not to make the playoffs. Now, obviously, I think it's a stretch to think that they would have gone to the Super Bowl or whatnot, obviously. But with this defense, they had a Super Bowl caliber or have a Super Bowl caliber defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a crazy season. So many ups and downs. The AB chilling with James Harrison during a Mike Tomlin press conference feels like an eternity ago. I mean, so much has happened since then. So wild year. Hopefully it continues after Sunday, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will see, and we will break down with our buddy John Eisenberg. We'll look ahead. We'll look at the Ravens and all. We'll catch back up with John on the Friday show, preview the game against the Steelers and the Ravens as we normally do here on a Friday. And in the meantime, Alex and I would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas who listens to the show, who goes to SteelersDepot.com, whether you do so once a day or 100 times a day or 1,000 times a day. We certainly do appreciate it. That you people are the reason we do what we do, why we do 3 podcasts during the year, why we do 2 podcasts during the off season, why Alex goes to every training camp and does the podcast in the evening there, why all the writers do what they do. And Lord, we got a great slew of them on the site right now as well too. So we'd like to thank all of our contributors on the site, and we appreciate everybody making 2019 our best year ever for not only the podcast but the site as well too. So Alex, would you got anything to add to that I missed?
No, I echo those thoughts. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah to everybody listening. Appreciate the support, and I know we're about to touch on the new year, and so can't wait to attack that, hopefully with some playoff news in that mix to kick off the year. But if not, then we'll get into draft mode and off-season mode and all that fun stuff, and we have a lot of fun with that as well. So appreciate all the support, and thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, and we will. And look, there's one thing we've learned how to do is transition really quickly there. So we don't know if we're going to be doing that as early as maybe Monday. But if so, I think Alex and Daniel at least, and maybe even Nick, I think I heard, are going down to the Senior Bowl again there, and we'll get right to it. The content and the discussion will never stop. And in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Oh, make sure you get by goodieslv.com. One last shout out for Dave and his site and all like that. Get yourself put in an order, get yourself entered to win that Steelers helmet as well too. It's a win-win situation all the way around. But in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to support us, go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Also, if you'd like to start off your new year maybe with an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com, it's a perfect time to do it. Go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button in the navigational bar for $25 for 1 calendar year. You can have an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com, and that's been very popular since we put it in a little over a year ago as well too. So happy holidays, everybody. Please stay safe. Merry Christmas. We'll be back on Friday as always. Thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.